My name is James Otieno. This is Founders Friday. I'm a fashion entrepreneur and designer. I have my own menswear brand and women's wear brand under the same name, Itikadi. I'm 32 years old. My idea for Itikadi actually evolved over time. My grandmother and my mother were both in the same business, albeit different in a different way. My grandmother did more of a wholesale business, although it was still tailoring. My mother did sportswear and institutional uniforms, and I was always around that environment. And being a very artistic child, it was the only outlet for me to kind of do creative things. So by the time I was going into uni, I started making clothes and stuff for other guys, and over time it was just inevitable that I would be in this industry. My initial capital was raised from bootstrapping, basically at the start. A lot of my own personal money. I started working not in fashion. I actually had a 9-to-5 job, and I used to pull a lot of money from my salary into this business, and also family and friends kind of helping out a bit. My mission with Itikadi was to do very creative things on the onset, even though that has evolved into what I consider creative, given the number of years I've been in the industry. It's still the basis of the brand to do very creative things. My most valuable skill will be learning. I value learning new things a lot, new techniques, new ways of pushing the design out there, the design that I'm doing. My biggest failure is taking in capital via loans twice. So I did it the first time, I didn't learn. I did the second time, I didn't learn. So those are like a 2-in-1. Nairobi Burger Week. So, but those are the biggest ones, I guess. Yeah. My first job was in sales. I did 6 months at a small like a startup where they were doing this online directory thing, and then I moved on. I didn't learn much. That was really frustrating. And then I moved on to a multinational, Acer Computers, the computer brand, and that's where the learning really started, because that is a very retail-based business, where you have the main company, you have a distribution chain, you have a retail chain at the end, and you have to manage how goods move from one end to the other, how to help the end person move the goods to the end customer. And that was, I think, for me the most valuable, because I got to see how a retail chain works. And if you think about it, like ready-to-wear fashion, or fashion that is found, like you go into a store, you buy clothes, it has the same chain. There's someone supplying, there's someone distributing, there's someone at the end retailing it and selling it out. My biggest role model would be my grandmother, and I want to put my mother in there, but if it's one person, it's my grandmother. Basically because she was very driven. And her backstory is actually very interesting in that her dad did not want to take her to school, but they were like, her and her brother were very close. So he wanted to take the boy to school, because back in the day they were like, oh, the girl will get married. So he ended up taking the boy, but since they were close, the boy ended up skipping school all the time to stay with the sister. But that experience gave her the conviction to make sure that all her kids have to get education, have to go all the way to uni. And up to date, no one has not gone all the way through to uni. And she has all the pictures on her wall to prove it. Now it's our kids who are now next in line for that, for those all hanging. So she was very driven. The main goal for the company is to be an influential brand in Africa. My main focus is usually Africa, because I feel like we're a very underserved market and underserved by ourselves, and that will be the main goal of both the women's and the menswear. The unique thing about Itikadi, I think, is me. If I'm being honest, because the structures, I can structure everything the same way other guys would structure, but it's how you think and how you want things to appear and how you want things to be that really makes the difference. In our menswear line, I'm very petty. I'm very particular about how things are done, how the suits are drafted, how they are cut. In the women's wear, I'm very unsatisfied with just doing the normal things. You have to do the basics that people are comfortable with, but even those basics can be pushed slightly, to make them a bit more interesting. So it's just how you are as the creative person in the room. Currently, Itikadi has one full-time employee. Okay, two. I'm one, myself and my tailor, and I have two other interns who help out. So we are very small, lean. What I look for in an employee the most is an open mind. There's nothing I think I dislike more than someone who believes something is only done in one way, because that means they're locked. They'll never open their minds to anything. And if I want something changed in a design, I don't want to have to start an argument over whether it can be done or not. I want us to go and do it, and if we can't do it, let's see what we can change. And even in someone who is as technical as a tailor, I want the tailor to also never be closed in to say, okay, this is only done this way, because then we'll lose the advantage of rolling new things out or unique things out quickly. When I'm selecting a team, I'm very unorthodox. I came from over 6 years of dealing with HR. So when I started picking out my team, I was very instinctual. It was very instinctual. So the tailor, if it's picking a tailor, we have to work for a week. I'll already have stuff done that will maybe test how you are on your finishing, how keen you are on your details, and stuff like that. And then how willing you are in terms of asking questions. How do you want this done? Is this supposed to be like this? And also put some mistakes in there to see whether you'll notice those mistakes and be like, okay, this one is a bit off. If it's picking interns, these are guys who are going to work directly on the design. It's a matter of asking them questions, what their aspirations are, what their style of design is, and basically if I get a good vibe from you, basically, we can start working. I attribute my success, if it's, well, I'll celebrate the small successes I have. In terms of where I want to be, I'm not yet there. But to get to where I have been, I think I attribute it to a lot of like honesty. You have to be honest with yourself. Like for 2017, the story around the whole industry was, 2017 was a bad year, 2017 was a bad year. But then I had suppliers who were opening their second stores in 2017, so there was a missing connect. And I think that was, you have to look at yourself and say, I've done this wrong, I can do it right. So I think to get where I am now, a lot of times I've had to look at myself and say, you've done this wrong, you need to do better, and you move forward. Itikadi advertises mostly on social media. We are currently running ads, on both our women's wear and menswear accounts, and basically a lot of referrals. Basically on the bespoke side, a lot of referrals is how we get good business. I have not turned down a client. I've turned down many clients, very many clients. One thing I learned was do not change your timelines. Do not rush jobs. If the client needs something too quickly and we can't do the timeline, I do recommend some guys if I feel like their timelines would work better than mine, because I'd rather tell the client no, and he or she will respect it. And if I tell them yes and I have enough time to do the job, I do a good job and they like it. And most of the time, those clients who have told no to have come back when there's more time. In terms of networking, I'll be very honest, that's one of my biggest struggles, because I'm a big introvert. I'm very into being at the workshop, doing the creative stuff. It's just I think towards the start of the year that I started going to events. I used to go to this Couture Africa events and all that. That was my only avenue for networking. And so it's something I need to actually, work towards as I grow. One partnership I've been really looking to get into is partnering with visual artists or artists themselves to do, custom art for pieces that I do, which I feel is a good avenue. But it's about finding the right artist who has the right aesthetics that will work with my aesthetics. So it's also very tricky. And also just other planned collaborations with influencers, or on things we can do that are very interesting. Always out in the open, always a conversation I'm having with them. If when we reach the end of the year, basically I look at two things in terms of success. I look at the revenue target we set for the year, and I look basically at the reach that we've had in terms of our, social media. I've set targets for both. So if it's a revenue target, if I hit those revenue targets, it's been a good year. If I hit the targets in terms of, are we reaching our customers? Are we getting to the right customers? Are we communicating the right things? Is our brand awareness, better? In 5 years, we should have our own women's wear store and our own menswear store. We should be retailing in at least 2 other countries in terms of women's wear, in partnership with retailers that are already there, not our own stores specifically. I honestly should have done either one of the big fashion weeks, and by this one I'm talking about either the South Africa one or the Nigeria one, not really the European ones, because the menus are lopsided, the seasons are a bit lopsided. My advice would be buckle up. It is, things get real in the industry. Guys should just be honest with themselves. It's good to have that starting enthusiasm, which I advise guys to never lose. But it gets to a point where then, the numbers will start talking a different story than your creativity is talking, and you'll have to know how to either commandeer that, that pathway, getting to know your customers better, what they want. It might not be what you're serving. So where do you find the customers that you need, and just being persistent. Be in an industry that you want to be in, not that you think is popping and you want to be there because everyone's there. The new collection for ready-to-wear women's wear is called Afro Origami. So it's a fusion of kind of African influence and Japanese influence. I'm a big fan of Japanese culture. One of those guys who watches the Japanese animes and all those things. So that I've been doing that for a long while, and I like the perfection they put in the little things that they do. It's kind of the thing that I want to do in my daily work, like making sure that if I do something, it's done properly and done to perfection. So I wanted to fuse these two cultures in pieces that would reflect kind of a bit of both, but were really easy to wear on a day-to-day basis. And it's already available in Republic and Westgate. My life philosophy, basically is, be happy, I guess. I think that's what I judge everything by. Am I happy doing it? Yes. If no, then I don't do it, So it's as simple as that. If you're not happy, don't do it.
Are my shoes clean? Oh my God, God actually sent me here. I told you I'm an artist. I've always been an artistic kid growing up.